Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Darlene and I will do your reading in just a moment. I've got somebody coming through today that's a bit unusual story, but I don't know, they all are really for me. They're all unique. Thank you for being here. I value you, each viewer, whoever clicks on my videos very much. I'm just getting started here on YouTube, so I appreciate any time you hit that like button or subscribe if you like what I do here. Also, when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I will be going live and answering your questions. So please hit that notification bell if that is of interest to you. I also do other kinds of Scorpio readings, twin flame readings. So if that interests you, please check out those playlists as well. Okay, enough business and jibber jabber. So let me get to the reading today. Where to start? The message today is for a young woman who, I don't really know what your age is now. You may be 35, 40, I don't know. That's young to me. I'm an old girl, so that's young to me. But it's telling me the story of you and your biological mother. So your biological mother is who the story is about on the other side that's coming through today. It's almost, for me, it's very different and unique in that normally when somebody comes through for me on the other side, I get a visual and a sense of them as if they're standing right here next to me talking to me. But I don't get that with her, and I'm not clear why. It's almost like, and it's not necessary. I still get the story. It's just an observation for me that it's different, and I can't put my finger on that yet. But it's irrelevant to the message. So what's coming through is, let's see if I can get this tale in the way that I kind of want to get it chronological. So the story is about your mother, and when she was younger, something happened on top of her having a vulnerability, and I'll come back to that in a little bit, that caused her to become mentally unstable. Now, at some point, she got pregnant, and she either, I don't know the situation, if she knew enough to give you up, or her parents might have insisted. I'm not seeing that situation clearly. But you were given up for adoption, and then, of course, then you were subsequently adopted by other parents. When you were growing up, you somehow realized at some point you kept looking at your parents and looking at yourself and saying, I don't look anything like these parents, the people that raised you. I don't look anything like them. And I think that, you know, so many people, things are different now when you adopt a child. But there was a time where that was not an open process. Some parents didn't even feel comfortable telling their children that they were adopted. So that may have been the case for you, because I get the feeling that at some point you just started asking so many questions that your parents had to sit down and explain it to you. But I think you were a little bit older. And that's, of course, when you found out you were adopted. Well, then you got more and more curious, naturally, about your biological mother. So when you started, when you got old enough, you decided, I think you sat with it for a long time, many years, but then when you got old enough, you decided to look for her. Now, fast forward, you found her at some point, somehow you found her, but she was essentially living on the streets. Let me put it that way. She was the quintessential kind of bad lady that was mentally unstable and living on the streets. At some point, you brought her into your home. You took care of her. And I'm seeing this morning where you wake up, you're feeling kind of okay, you're still questioning her and her state of mind. But thinking, you know, it's all right, it's going to be okay, and then you go out into your living room or whatever, and you discover that not only is she gone without a word, but she's taken money out of your wallet and something else. I don't know what else, but she took from you, let's say, and disappeared. Now, I don't see past that. Maybe you decided, maybe you just couldn't get in touch with her, you couldn't find her again. Maybe you just decided better to leave well enough alone. But they're not giving me a lot of that detail. They want to come back to, because they just want me to know enough to give you your message. It's more about you and the message they want to bring through for you. So that's a lot of specific information for you to know if this is your story or not. But now they want me to come back to what I mentioned earlier, these vulnerabilities. And I'm going to go what's going to seem like off topic a little bit to explain this. It's been my theory for a long time that there are a lot of people in mental institutions that are different but not necessarily mentally ill. And by that I mean, when we are born, everybody is born with intuition and the abilities, certain abilities, okay. And then of course there are avenues and practices that you can cultivate and improve your intuition, okay. So we know that, like meditation, for example, is one. And you can improve your intuitive abilities. But most people are born with, I don't want to use this word normal, but a certain amount of filters where we go around our daily lives and we're kind of normal, right? I believe that a lot of the people that are in mental institutions are simply born without certain filters. So what that means is they can see other dimensions, other worlds. They can see spirits, for example. They can see other kinds of energies and entities that we can't see because we have filters. So, in other words, they're not broken, they just don't have the filters that we have, but because either it's too overwhelming, what they've seen is beyond their understanding, and they didn't have the foundation, a strong foundation to handle that information, then they might have broken down, or the people around them couldn't accept it, or for all the reasons that ended up bringing them to the point where they are in an institution. That can happen to a number of people. That's my personal theory about that. Now, back to vulnerabilities. When we are born, again, everybody has intuition. We're always given that. But in some cases, we are born with certain vulnerabilities. Those could be physical. You may be born with a body that's not physically strong. You may be born with a chemical imbalance in your body, or a genetic difference. Let me put it like that. So what I'm being shown about her, because I feel like the reason this information is coming through is that you always wondered. You got to a point where you thought, well, gosh, when anything strange would happen, you would start to, once you found this out about your mother, you would start to question, well, gosh, that's my genetic mother, and am I going crazy? You know, do I have bipolar? Do I have this or that? Because I think that was one of the diagnoses that they gave her, was that she was bipolar. And so I think you started to question, and you really began to shut down on certain levels because of that questioning. So what they're telling me is your mother had both a vulnerability when she was born. I'm hearing chemical, but it could have been, so that's kind of physical, but whatever chemical or whatever, I feel like it was in her physical body, vulnerability she had. And then along the way, I think she also had this lack of filter On top of that, I think she didn't have a strong foundation. The family that she grew up in had zero tolerance probably for anything out of the norm. So if she ever made a comment about seeing something that was out of the norm, they would immediately, I heard the word attacker. I don't mean that physically, but I mean, it was just simply not, and so that exacerbated the problem. So as time went on, she had more experiences, and one problem kind of layered on the other. Now, back to this vulnerability, you can also, if you are in a weakened state as an adult, let's say you grow up in a perfectly healthy home, and by the way, these are all things according to me in my experience with spirits and this and that. So if you grow up in a perfectly normal home and you have a perfectly healthy physical body, but let's say somewhere along the line, for example, you get off track, maybe you had a relationship and it broke your heart and you started drinking or whatever. I'm just pulling something out of a hat here. But then let's say you find yourself at a bar drinking more than you should, or just at a bar in places that you might not normally go if you were content in your own company and didn't have a broken heart. Well, there are certain energies that hang out at these places, right? And they look for vulnerable people. Now, you might normally not be a vulnerable person, but when you're in an altered state, like if you're drinking too much or doing any kind of other addiction, of course, substance abuse and all that, you are vulnerable. You are in a weakened state. So that's kind of it's like several things that went into creating the situation that led your mother down the path where she ended up. And I think that was another one. So something happened along the way where I keep hearing environment, something in her environment, somewhere she went when she was already weakened and vulnerable, that also caused it, attracted something to her, like a dark energy or something. So she had several things going on with her. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Maury Povich's TV show or something. I don't know. I just kind of, whatever, one of those. But it's a very complicated, complex story I'm seeing. I kept trying to, when I was meditating, I kept trying to, I got bits and pieces and then try to make a story out of this. And it finally hit me. It is complicated. There's a lot of pieces that went into this. Her ending up, basically not being able to function and mentally, I'm going to say unstable, but she couldn't function mentally or otherwise. And so all of this story is coming through today to comfort you. That it's coming through because they want you to know you do not have two out of those three things. What you do have, you may choose to have, you may choose to honor or not, is that you do have the ability to see things, but because you don't want to go there, you're not going to be able to see those things. And that's like somebody, for example, you'll hear a lot of psychic and mediums talk about it's a gene that you're given through your lineage, through your ancestors, that you're born with it. Well, again, we all have intuition. So, and if you have a lot of intuition, but you never cultivate it and you never build your skill, then nothing's going to happen. Whereas conversely, if you have a little bit and you work on it, you could have a lot more skill. But then you add to that being born with a gene that's handed down from an ancestor who had some skill or ability, then you have even more to start with. Your baseline is in a different place. But if you don't choose to use it, then you're not going to start seeing dead people around you. You're not, it's just not likely to happen. You have the ability to say no. All you have to say is no. I don't want to go there. I'm not going to see that. No. You are always in charge of that, and that's the important message that they want to bring through here today for you, is that you think you have more fear about it than is warranted. You don't. Well, I won't say that. That's given your mother's past, that certainly would be a concern. But they're just telling you your situation is different. You had a different upbringing entirely. You had a very good upbringing. Your adoptive parents loved you very much. You know, it was normal by most terms. You don't have the vulnerabilities, chemically or otherwise, that she had. You don't have that. If it's a bipolar gene or whatever, you don't have that gene. You don't have, she had like 3 different things. You have the ability, but you're choosing not to go there. But you don't, but you won't have those same experiences that she did. You just, it's just a different story altogether. And so, boy, I know that was a difficult, like I said, complicated story, but it just, they want you to know that it's okay. You don't need to have fear. And I believe that it's not so much a heavy weight on you as it is, but there are parts of you that it's shutting down. And I think that's the point of why they want to talk about this. They don't want you to completely shut down any sensitivities that you have. Now, by that I mean, it's a good thing to listen to your intuition. If your intuition says, you know that errand you've been meaning to go to Home Goods or Target or something to go do, you need to do that today. You know, you get those little nudges. I've been thinking about doing this and I hadn't wanted to do this, and wake up one morning and you say, oh yeah, I think I'll go do that today. And then you find out the thing you've been wanting to go buy is on sale or whatever. It can be those little nudges that that are good types of intuition, that we all want to have access to that in day-to-day life. And then there are those that tell us, you know, don't go do things. Those are important too. So they're telling me that you're shutting those down because you're so afraid it's going to go over here, way over to the dark place where you don't want to go. So, is there anything else? Let me see here. I'm just listening. They're coming through talking about a job change for you. Ah, okay, thank you. There is something to do with, I don't know if you are a nurse or you're thinking about becoming a nurse, or something, some kind of caregiving. But you're thinking about changing jobs or career paths. And the reason they're coming through is because they're saying, if you can not have this hard line about not feeling anything woo-woo and all the, you know, and understand that just to be able to open up a little bit to feel your intuition, that this will help you in your new career path, whatever that's going to be for you. Well, you will know. They're saying that will help you immensely. Okay. And they're suggesting just a simple practice of meditation, just a few minutes a day of sitting down quietly and meditating and, you know, connecting with your inner self. That, what else? Is that it? Yeah, just sit quietly and focus on your breathing and, you know, down in your belly, and quiet your mind, and just take a time out and meditate a few minutes a day. It can be that simple. And try to manage any fear that you have, because they're saying it's not going to happen to you. That's just not what your path is about in this lifetime. And don't worry that it was sad that your mother had to have all that happen, but that was her path and it's not yours. Okay, that's it. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for sticking around. That was a longer reading than normal, but it's important for somebody out there to hear. So I do hope you know, it's brought you some comfort, and I'll be back again soon with another reading. If you like these kind of readings, again, hit that like button on the way out, and stick around. I might be reading for you and your loved ones soon. All right, take care, everybody. Many blessings.